is making a campaign stop.
Are you ready to take back Texas? Are you ready to beat Ken Paxton? Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, all of you, for being here. It is an honor to be in East Texas. There is something happening in the Lone Star State. You can feel it. You can feel it in the air. We are building a movement to take back our state and take back our country. We are uniting Texans onto one team to take on this broken, corrupt political system. We have recruited more than 45,000 volunteers who are doing the organizing work all over this state. We have shattered grassroots fundraising records, all without taking a dime from corporate PACs. And on November 3rd, we're going to do something extraordinary. We're going to end 30 years of one-party rule in Texas and elect a senator who's going to serve us, not billionaire donors. We have forgotten that that's what politics is supposed to be about, service. Elected officials are not supposed to serve themselves or their donors. They're supposed to serve us. I learned the meaning of service from my great-grandfather, my papi. He was a barber in Port O'Connor, Texas, on the Gulf Coast. And he served this country in World War II in the Pacific Theater. He was a part of the greatest generation, a group of Americans who asked not what their country could do for them, but what they could do for their country. Whether he was cutting his neighbor's hair or fighting fascism, Papi was always serving other people. He was a faithful man. He tried to live like Jesus, who, in the words of Scripture, came not to be served, but to serve. Papi's favorite Bible story was in the book of Matthew, when Jesus' disciples are jockeying for position, and Jesus tells them, "The rulers of this world lord their power over their people, but among you it will be different. The greatest among you will be a servant." The greatest among you will be a servant. That is one of the most countercultural ideas in human history. In a world that's obsessed with power, wealth, and status, Jesus is saying that real greatness is serving others. I learned the same thing from my dad, quietly, every Saturday morning. Some of you know that I was born to a single mom who worked overtime at a hotel to provide for me. But the luckiest day in both of our lives was the day we met my adoptive dad, Mark Talarico, the man who gave me his last name, the man who raised me as his own. In a time when there's so much discussion about what it means to be a man, my dad showed me. Every Saturday morning he would mow our lawn, and then he would go next door without anyone asking him to and mow our neighbor's lawn because she was elderly and a widow. He never talked about it. He just did it because that's what a man does. He serves others. He takes responsibility. He does what's right even when no one is watching. Our culture nowadays tells young men that being great means tearing other people down. It means trolling and owning and name-calling. But my dad showed me what real greatness looks like. Papi and my dad inspired me to serve. And so when I graduated from the University of Texas, I moved all my stuff down to the west side of San Antonio to teach middle school in one of the poorest zip codes in the entire state of Texas. And in my first year of teaching, I noticed something really strange. All of my students were eating the exact same snack, off-brand strawberry Pop-Tarts. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know if there was some kind of Pop-Tart craze sweeping the nation, but I kept finding the wrappers in the trash can in my classroom. And so after class one day, I cornered one of the students and I asked him, where did you get the Pop-Tarts? And he said, Miss Rivas gave it to me. I said, Miss Rivas, the custodian? He said, yeah, she carries them in her purse. And so after school, I found Miss Rivas and I asked her about it. She said she bought them in bulk at H-E-B and brought them to school every morning. When I asked her why on earth she would spend her hard-earned money on off-brand strawberry Pop-Tarts, she looked at me kind of confused and said, they don't get breakfast at home. That was all she said. They don't get breakfast at home. Someone was in need, and that's all Miss Rivas needed to know. The greatest among you will be a servant. In my time in the state legislature, I've tried to be like Miss Rivas. I've tried to serve my constituents. I've tried to serve the people of Texas. I've brought both parties together to pass 60 bipartisan bills to cut property taxes, to raise teacher pay, to lower the cost of housing, the cost of childcare, the cost of prescription drugs, including insulin. I ran for office not to be served, but to serve. And then there's Ken Paxton. I have a legislative record. Ken Paxton has a criminal record. Ken Paxton is the most corrupt politician in America, and he should be nowhere near the United States Senate. 3 years ago this week, Ken Paxton was impeached by his own party for using his public office, his position of public trust, to enrich himself and his donors at the expense of the people of Texas. Ken Paxton is everything that's wrong with politics. He doesn't serve us. He serves himself and his billionaire donors. Since taking office, Ken Paxton's net worth has increased 7,000%, while our pay has remained stagnant. He now has 11 homes when most Texans can't afford one. He has taken bribes from wealthy donors, all while he blocks overtime pay for Texas workers and guts our health care. This is the rot at the core of this broken system. It's why we can't afford anything. It's why we can't get ahead no matter how hard we work. For 50 years, billionaires and their puppet politicians have stolen from us with their bribes, their bailouts, and their billionaire tax breaks. Trickle-down economics is not a theory, it's theft. The billionaires and their puppet politicians have been stealing from the American people, stealing the wealth that we created. It's why everything sucks right now. It's why everyone is so angry. The American people aren't asking for a lot. A job we don't hate, a house big enough to raise a family in, and a little left over to go on vacation every once in a while. That is harder than it should be. Harder than it should be in America. We have an affordability crisis because we have a corruption crisis. We don't have a government of, by, and for the people. We have a government of, by, and for the billionaires. Mega donors, they buy politicians like Ken Paxton, and then those puppets turn around and rig the rules of this economy in favor of those billionaires at our expense. Everywhere I go across this state, big cities, small towns, red areas, blue areas, all of us are drowning. We can't afford the basics: groceries, gas, insurance, utilities, prescription drugs, the things that we need to survive. no matter how hard we work, no matter how much we save, those ends never seem to meet. There is something broken in this country. A few weeks ago, an Amazon worker died in one of Amazon's warehouses. And as he lay dying, management told the other workers, turn around, don't look, get back to work. Get back to work. That was a human being. That was a child of God. That was our sibling, sacrificed on the altar of corporate greed. We have an opportunity in this election to return to those old-fashioned values of my great-grandfather, of the greatest generation, serving others, taking responsibility, and doing what's right even when no one is watching. That's what's at stake in this election. Ken Paxton has sold us out time and time again, and he's gotten away with it. They've all gotten away with it. But that ends this year, in this state, in this race. If we the people can come together to defeat the most corrupt politician in America, we can come together to defeat this entire corrupt system. When we win this race, the first bill I'm filing as your next U.S. Senator is an anti-corruption agenda. Getting big money out of our politics by overturning Citizens United. Banning corporate PACs and super PACs so billionaires can't make unlimited donations to our campaigns. And banning members of Congress from trading stocks and enriching themselves while they're in public office. We're also going to go after the kinds of corruption that don't involve money. We must pass term limits so members of Congress aren't making a career out of public service. We must overhaul the Supreme Court so we can have confidence in the highest court in the land. And we must finally pass a national ban to end gerrymandering once and for all in every state in the union. Once we transform this broken, corrupt system, we can start unrigging this economy. We can start raising our pay, lowering our costs, cutting our taxes. We can finally start to get ahead. This is not going to be easy. We're going up against those billionaire mega donors and their top puppet. They're going to throw everything they've got at this movement that we're building. They're afraid of this room in East Texas. They've already called me a radical leftist. They've already called me a fake Christian. They've even called me a vegan, which is, those are fighting words in the state of Texas. I'm an 8th generation Texan. I've been eating barbecue since before Ken Paxton's first indictment. You may have also seen that Ken Paxton has started calling me Talarico. And I'm proud to announce that we now have I'm a Talarico t-shirts on our website. They're going to call this movement we are building un-American, un-Texan. They'll call us a threat. The only truth out of all of those lies is that we are a threat. We're a threat to their corruption. This is not going to be easy, but there is something happening in the state of Texas. There's something in the air. And I'm confident. I feel it in my bones that we are going to win this election. And we're going to elect a senator who will serve and not be served. And on November 3rd, the greatest among us will be the servants. Thank you for being here. God bless you, Nacogdoches. Let's go win this thing. Thank you.